All right, residential job here. You can see the tree back up over there, I'm sure. Hope this camera's positioned right. This is just an overview of my old 1890 Brush Bandit. It's got a fairly substantial capacity. It's a great tool. These are the things I do. I already greased the machine. It's the first thing I do, and I already check the oil. I mean, I do that before I even start it up in the morning, because if it needs to be hooked to the truck, which it did this morning, it does have a hydraulic foot for the trailer unit. Just real quick, it's got the John Deere in it, the 6068. Right in here is where the dipstick is for the oil. It's got the Caterpillar keys on it, as I know them. I don't, you know, the triangle keys and the latches, but that's all been done. We're just going to go over where all the grease points are. There is a grease point right here on the foot. Foot's got safety locks for up and down. Again, it's hydraulically driven. We did change this so that it had a different setup, so that when you lift the handle up, the tongue goes up instead of the leg going up, and when you push the handle down, the tongue goes down. We just found it's more intuitive that way. It's got a drop leg. It's got 3 holes. We're on the center one right now. There's a clevis for the hydraulic piston. It does have a hydraulic discharge swivel. Of course, your Rockford dual disc PTO, and you got your throw out bearings and your carrier bearings, grease fittings in here. Hope that's picking up on it. Of course, you have your clutch arm grease fittings there. And when you come back in here, your main bearings for your drum are hidden inside, so you have a grease line going in there. We'll do the drum we'll go over that when we sometime when we oh wow, I'm gonna have to put that in before I chip. Look at that, I broke a well, I guess, and lost my pen. Not skookum. Okay, that's a dead man switch, so you can't open this without shutting the machine off. We'll go around because there is another main bearing. There are grease zerks all the way around for, these are the rollers. This whole yoke lifts up, and you have a hidden bearing in here that's on a line. Actually, it's right here right now, and you have the fitting right here. It always makes a mess. That's why it's buried in grease right now. There's no way around it. Main bearing there. Okay, this is your control center. This is your yoke up and down, your winch in and out, and of course these are your feed wheels in and out. This right here is a hydraulic diverter valve. You cannot operate the yoke and the feed wheels at the same time you operate the winch, and there's a reason for that. It prevents accidents. It prevents you from chipping winch heads, which we've actually had happen with this machine before. You know, I'll show you when we get to the end of the winch line. There's a clevis there. This is your free spool mechanism. We put it out here because in certain circumstances, I mean, I'm tall, I'm 6'4" on my loggers, but it makes it certain circumstances where the ground might drop away from the machine. It makes it a little difficult for shorter people to access all of this. We have 250 feet of, or 200 feet, excuse me, of poly winch line on there. Find it works really well. This is the kind of clevis that we had chipped. These feed wheels are 24 inches wide, and when they open all the way, it's 26 inches high. That is how big a piece of wood you can put in there. I can actually crawl in there when it's open and not touch the sides. Feed chute, 6 feet wide. Top of it is right at about 6 feet. And what's nice about this machine is, you see it better over here. This machine is on a frame elevator. This material right here, it's 10 inches higher than other machines. other two 1890s, we'll do the green one. It doesn't have this. It's just the axle is on this, and it sits much lower. Of course, cones goes without saying, but when I say it sits much lower, it sits 10 inches lower, so now you're bending over to get into here. Believe it or not, this is much nicer. If you have to pick up and drag brush, you're never bending over to put it in the machine. And it sounds like, well, lower is better, but it's really not. And of course, when you're doing whole trees, the winch feed is a very nice feature. And we'll do that in another video too. All right, and we're going to come around here. Brush Bandit, this is like just a safety mechanism we put on here. And it looks really primitive, but it is just in case. The way the Bandit sleeves, when we have one apart, I'll show you, but not today. The way Bandit sleeves onto its feed wheels, sometimes these motors slide off. This is a preventative measure. Oh, see all my new grease here. And just like the other side, we have the 1-2 mains for the feed wheels, and then the yoke guides, and then hidden in here, I don't know, can you see this? Maybe you can see it now. This is the main bearing grease fitting. Hydraulic tank. Okay, always keep at least 3/4 full. Somewhere along the way we lost the cowling for this, never replaced it. Probably should. Had to put a new starter motor in it, one of the few new parts I put on this engine. That's what that is. This is the diesel tank, 57-gallon diesel tank. Gives us about 3 solid running days, believe it or not, of, I guess that's 20 gallons a day. Really isn't that good, but it seems pretty good when you're producing. That's the hydraulic feed motor for the other side, and then it runs down to a chain for the feed wheel on the lifting yoke. Air filter, of course. This is what we call a Jenkins rain cap, and we found the flapper caused us problems and we kept losing them. We have yet to lose a Jenkins rain cap. All right, and then we're back around to the front of the machine. Of course, it has breakaway wired to the battery, so if you come off the truck, the brakes go on. Safety chains, electric brakes, you know, the full 9. And that's the once over on the machine. Fuel filter is also back in here. Easy access for changing. I'm just going to chip a little bit so you can get a feel for, and we could show you everything. And then I got to get this done, so let's get on that. All right, starting procedure is pretty easy from this point. Murphy switch, okay, ignition switch. Like all other machines, these ignition switches rattle. There is no cheaping out. This is a incredibly expensive but stout ignition switch. It's not like a lawn tractor ignition switch. You can't get away with that stuff on these machines because you are chipping logs, you know, that are 25, 30 feet long and 20 inches in diameter at times, and just the vibration really eats things up. So anyway, we're going to start this up. You turn the ignition on, you hear that first click, then you're going to push the Murphy switch in. You could hear that click, and then just turn her over. Now, what the Murphy switch does is, if you drop your oil pressure to here, or your temperature gauge surpasses this point, it's going to overheat. The Murphy switch will shut her off. Now, I've had a lot of moisture, so we're getting a little belt squeak. This machine also has live hydraulics, which means the hydraulics work even without engaging the clutch. We'll lift that up. And you can see how high that's opening up. And it'll bury those wheels right up in there. So yeah, you got a substantial, you know, it goes a lot faster, of course, when it's idled up, but you have a substantial capacity for this machine. You see how they have all the hoses on a run. Now that big pipe rattling up there, that is the lockout bar, so you could lock this open if you have to get in there to do maintenance. Hit the diverter. And there's your winch in and out. Now I'm going to preload this machine, which means stuffing a lot of brush in there. I'm going to have to, of course, move this. Some little kid's bike wants to be like Daddy. Daddy's got a nice Harley. Try not to let anything happen to the Harley. Maybe Mommy has a nice Harley, who knows? Nice bike. Anyway, I'm gonna preload the machine and then we'll turn the camera back on and run it. And basically preloading the machine is what I do because the mouth of this machine is so big. I'll be able to get a good portion of this brush in before I start shipping. So anyway, that's the 1890, and then the rest of this will all be rock dump down here and hold it up with a rope. I'm going to let that down before we chip, and basically what it does is it strips any bark off of big logs and stuff. It helps marginalize the volume of rocks that get into the cutter wheels. And if you're operating off of a vehicle, you have a rear leg drop, so that way the machine won't tilt up like this when you're putting big stuff in. So yeah, that's that. And camera off, I got some work to do.